All right. I think we're on. Just hoping. I do this at the start of every episode. I just sit here and I'm like, I think I'm on. and then eventually some comment will come up about someone not having their pants on, and that's pretty much my go sign.
Well, look, I'm going to be the exception, and I've got my pants on. So it's pants on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't want to break the fourth wall by telling all the viewers that I do actually have pants on. So we'll just keep that one between you and I.
We're not live yet, remember?
That's right. Yeah, cool. All right. So on that note, actually, so welcome to a show that not only talks about sports and collecting, but it also encourages you to not wear any pants. Welcome to Baseline Drunks Live. As always, I'm Hendo. You know who I am by now. Nothing's really changed since last week other than my jocks, really, while watching the Boomers game last night. So we'll get into that a little bit later. And tonight I'm joined by a man who has won more footy-related bets against me than anyone else on the planet. Essendon supporting, Boston Celtics supporting, Red Sox supporting, Patriots supporting, ESPN zone. Steve Smith, how are you, mate?
Hendo, I'm very, very well this weekend. What about yourself, mate?
Yeah, I'm going well. There's no complaints. I've got a brand new mic thanks to a gentleman named Jack, just like to drink. And, hopefully everyone can hear me all right, and I haven't butchered the settings. So that's where I'm at. But, yeah, what a bloody weekend. I can't even think about anything else other than the bloody Boomers. Let's put it that way.
No, I think everyone who's into basketball at all in Australia has just been overwhelmed with what happened last night and the reaction since. I mean, just watching Paddy and Joe and all those guys celebrate, and then watching Andrew Gaze celebrate them celebrating. I think that sent everyone over, didn't it? Like I was already emotional, and that just made it worse.
Oh, mate, once Gazy started talking about what he was talking about, I was just sitting there I think I was more stunned. I was already emotional. As when the guys actually won, and like all the bits and pieces that happened right after the game. But once Gazy jumped on, I don't know. I didn't just regress back into a mess again, but I was just like transfixed by him, because what he put together in that kind of 2-minute little spiel is, I don't think anyone could have put it any better.
No, I mean, that was 5 Olympics worth of emotion and near misses and all that. I think that all that came out. He's one of the most genuine blokes you'll ever meet. He's the same whether you're the Prime Minister or just whoever, and he's always just so genuinely friendly with everyone.
Yeah, he's a weapon, and I think everyone was a bit overwhelmed. Like if you just saw, just all over really, like any platform that you're used to speaking on, whether it's like Twitter or even just Insta, Discord channels, all this sort of stuff. Like there was no one there going, "Oh, it's just a basketball game." Like everyone was just like, "Oh, I'm a mess." So it's it's a bloody good result. But
I just it's something I think a lot of us had waited so long for. I think that we probably never really thought it would actually happen. I think after so many near misses, after the gut punch of 2016 and Spain, I think when it was right there and we had it snatched away from us on what is still an infuriatingly dodgy call. I think we all wondered, would we ever get to see the men win a medal, and we finally did.
We finally did. I was sort of, like I was saying before, I was sort of like transfixed and staring at the screen, because I just couldn't believe that. Because honestly, when you're dealing with a FIBA tournament like the Olympics or a World Cup type thing or whatever, it's like it got to 3/4 time and I'm just like, right, how are they going to fuck us this time? Because it's like it's going to happen. So just how is it going to happen? And we had a good lead and things were feeling good, and I'm like, because you don't even want to think to yourself, surely it doesn't happen from here, but you don't want to tempt fate either.
No. I just that last 5 minutes, and as the clock wouldn't tick down fast enough for me. I was watching it and just come on, we're still double digits up here, and then some really clutch play from Dante, who was so good the whole game and the whole tournament. That just sealed it, and it was such a good feeling just being able to watch them and knowing that this wasn't going to be in doubt. We weren't going to have this snatched away from us in the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, it was good. And even I remember watching it and just saying out loud, I need this to be a 50-point margin. There's the only way I'm going to feel safe. And even if it was 50 points in the first quarter, I'd be like, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. But no, it was amazing. And I guess, just hearing Paddy talk about the game and being able to sort of just put the words together that he can put together after, let's face it, I don't think I've seen anyone just run that ragged in a game of basketball, maybe ever. He was like, I don't know, Rip Hamilton levels of just constantly moving all the time. He just wasn't going to let us lose. I think that cemented him as our greatest ever male player. 42 points and 9 assists is just in any game of basketball, let alone one for a medal. That's God tier stuff. Yeah, I don't know many that have you could say you've done something like that at such just an important time. It's all the cards on the table at that point. And just the way it was all set up from start to finish, you had in any basketball game, I think you can always sort of see different structures of teams. You got your alpha, beta, there's different sort of levels, and you only have to get in and play your agreed role and things will go great. Yep. And I was looking at it before the game and I thought to myself, well, this is either going to be one of those games where, I don't know, 6 people scoring double figures and it's just a complete team effort, or someone's going to go spare. And I didn't realize Paddy was going to go that spare, but it was a good thing. Say hello to the chat. We got Cody, we got Bailey, Blake's here, Mayo's here, Weaver's here, Peter B's here, everyone's here. Jack's here, the microphone sponsor. I'm going to need to get a banner at the bottom of the screen for this picture of Jack's face, just for sponsoring on the microphone. I'm still kind of strangely overcome by all that, and like Peter B says here, he did, as in Paddy, he did what everyone thought Luka might do, and it's about right. When Exum was talking shit to Luka at the start, and Luka turned and looked at him, and you could see what he said. He goes, "Don't talk shit to me." And I sat there and I thought, oh my God, Dante, we don't need to fire this bloke up anymore. What is going on? But he played him physical and he kept him honest for the whole game. And if anything, it was Luka that cracked the shits and sort of lost a bit of focus.
Yeah, I think because Luka has been so otherworldly for the best part of 2 NBA seasons and all throughout this Olympics, we forget that he was only 22 years old. At some point that came home, and he just happened to be in a medal game that he didn't quite have it all, and he'll learn and grow from that, which probably doesn't. That's bad news for the rest of us, I think.
Yeah, but see the fact that we beat Slovenia and we get the result that we wanted and we get all the emotion and all that, it's I can now go forth and love Luka as much as I love Luka. Because if I'm watching the NBA, it's I love Luka. I can continue on and love him because he didn't fuck us over by winning the bronze medal. So he can go forth and have just an amazing Olympic career, and I don't know, do all sorts of amazing shit. Just if he'd fucked us over here, then I'd have to question whether I loved him anymore. I'm glad I don't have to do that. But look, Cody makes an interesting point. He's sick of carrying whole teams. He probably is. I don't know. It's he's doing a bit of carrying of the Mavericks as well, I would say. And just re-signed Hardaway again. So same run. How much smack is Josh Green going to talk to Luka at the first Dallas practice? That's right. Yeah. I was kind of hoping to see a bit more of Josh Green, to be honest, but
and we've got time. That's the best thing. He was the youngest member on that Boomers squad, so the future's really bright. Regardless of I think we probably have Joe and Paddy go again, but the future looks really bright with guys like Thibault and Josh Green, and you've got Josh Giddey to come. That's the most exciting bit.
That's going to be fun. Yeah, it's interesting watching just what's that saying? It's like a bit of a meme saying. It's like tell me you don't watch basketball without telling me
you don't watch basketball.
Yeah, and so you see some of these things on Facebook groups and all that. They look at Giddey and they see a scrawny kid and just this guy's going to be a bust, which I find hilarious. People are actually even making commentary on it before he's even played a game. It's like you look up every half decent or star player in the NBA that's, I don't know, 25, 26 and older. Yep. You look up the pictures of them when they're 18, and what do they look like? They look like a skinny kid, and we don't know whether they're going to know how to play or not. We've seen enough of Giddey to know that he can play, so it's
exactly. I'm really looking forward to the overreactions from Summer League starting tomorrow. He's got a big game tomorrow, and if he's no good in 5 minutes, everyone's going to be writing him off. There's no in between with Summer League. You're either Hall of Fame or you're a complete bust. And
it's a bit of a role reversal, for the imports that come out here to play in the NBL. If you that first game, if you shit the bed on the first game, it's like you may be sent home. It's crazy.
Anthony Bennett is a really good example of someone who had a really good Summer League campaign, and even, and Cavs fans were ecstatic. They were like, oh, this guy looks really good. And then the real stuff starts, and no.
Not so much.
Not so much.
Not so much. Oh, dear. So look, I guess a little bit about yourself, mate. Like your Twitter handle not only has the blue tick, but it is named Steve Smith. And so that has run you into some fairly, I don't know how to put this appropriately, but it's run you into some fairly interesting adventures from a cricket Twitter perspective. So I guess to join that into your own sort of fandom, I mean, how did you stumble across the Boston teams that you follow now? And if you want to touch on a little bit about the Twitter adventures that you've had over the journey.
All right, we'll start with the Twitter stuff because that's real easy. So when you've got you've got a complete fan base who are abusing you because they've mistaken you for the former cricket captain for using sandpaper, that's not always a fun time. But it's pretty good now. Most people do it out of fun, and the abuse is far, far less than it used to be, thankfully. So most of it now is just guys taking the piss, which is great. I'm happy with that. Yeah. Fandom wise, look, started following the Boston Celtics when I was, a teenager. It wasn't Larry Bird at first because it was the season he was injured. So it was Reggie Lewis that I really, really liked. He was my favorite player as a teenager. So jumped onto the Celtics wagon. Picked a really bad time to do that because they went 22 years without a title. So that was good timing for me. And at the same time figured, well, I might try the other US sports as well. So, I'll just pick the city that I picked the NBA team. So I'll just keep it in one city. And so I went Red Sox and Patriots as well. To a lesser extent, the Bruins, but, keep it all in New England. And it's been a ride after that.
Yeah, well, they don't call it Title Town for nothing, I suppose. Although they call themselves Title Town. You're not meant to give yourself a nickname, but there you go.
No, but, look, the early 2000s were just amazing as a fan. And, that extends to my AFL fandom as well with Essendon. So, and sort of haven't really had a lot to celebrate since, which is fine. Yeah. I got more than enough from the Red Sox breaking their drought. I think that was the most satisfying one. And I'd only been probably watching the team for 7 or 8 years, never mind 70 years. Like there were people in Boston who had, whole generations had lived and died without ever seeing the Red Sox win a title. That staggers me.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's kind of like following Carlton, really. That's how that works. We're not talking about Carlton tonight, that's for sure.
We can talk about Essendon.
Your mum had a good win. What is that about? Where did that come from?
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming either. We're still a chance for the 8, and I still don't understand how. So, and I'm not so sure I want us in the 8, to be honest.
Well, I think I think there's quite a few teams that, someone has to mathematically make it. And up until recently, we were even one of those teams, which tells you something. I think whoever makes 7th and 8th could just be having a crack at maybe the record for being beaten by the most in the first round of the finals. It might be. Because I think once it goes up a gear, none of us teams that are floating around that 8 to 13 mark are going to have what it takes. So
yeah, Essendon will be cannon fodder, and I'm not sure that helps us. Somebody's asked, has Steve tried to purchase your Twitter handle? No, he hasn't, but I'm reluctant to change mine as well because everyone knows what mine is as well. So every now and again, just before summer starts, somebody will get me wrong. Somebody will mistake me for the other Steve Smith, and it just starts a chain reaction. So probably around October is when it really starts to ramp up.
Seasonal Twitter abuse, basically.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Well, I've proudly jumped on board that just that whole movement of giving you shit on Twitter and even just pretending that I don't know the right one.
No, I'm going to start clowning blokes like when I know they're taking the piss. I'm going to say, look at this bloke, doesn't know the difference. Just to see what happens.
Just rev it right up. Exactly. Yeah. I'm just thinking to myself, I just like the ones where it's just you might be tweeting something about I don't know anything, and it'll just be like stick to cricket, dickhead.
I copped one of those today, and some other blokes jumped in and told him off, which I thought was very funny because this bloke thought he was being a comedian, and because everyone thinks they're telling this joke for the first time. So yeah,
it was good though. I dig it. Like when someone does that though, like I picture them like laughing like Dr. Evil when Dr. Evil tells a joke and no one else laughs. It's just like they're so pleased with themselves, but no one else really cared. I think it's good.
XJack X98. Yes, I'm still at ESPN, mate.
I think his follow-up one might be not after tonight. I don't know. Hopefully not.
I've got pants on. ESPN has a strict pants on policy, so had to wear them today.
Yeah, that's fair as well. Maya's asking as well, do you get it from the NBA and the NFL versions as well?
Yeah, occasionally, but not so much mistaken identity, more just somebody might tweet me a pic of Miami Steve Smith from about 1992.
It's an adventure. It's definitely an adventure. Maggie's in the chat. Basically, Blues shit the bed. Yes, that's correct. How good with the Gold Coast Suns? That's also correct. Although I would say I don't know how good the Suns were or just how much we didn't show up again. So, it's the thing about Carlton, and I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but the thing about Carlton is that if ever Carlton are in a position where they're somehow odds of under $1.50, load up on the other team because it means that there's a market imbalance and someone's made a grave mistake. Because we shouldn't be under $1.50 against anyone at all. There's just absolutely no reason for it. So, someone could have cleaned up some nice money because I think the Suns were paying somewhere in the range of about, I don't know, $2.80 or $3. Ridiculous. So it's a good way to make some cash.
This is like that day in, 2018? We went and watched Carlton Gold Coast at Marvel, and you guys were down 6 goals at halftime. We didn't go back inside the stadium. I think we stayed out and enjoyed the sunshine because you just didn't want to go back in.
A little bit of context to that is that you basically hijacked me into a bet that I should never have taken. But after a pretty impressive preseason, before round one, you picked the perfect time to just put your hand out for a bet and just say, I bet you a bottle of whiskey that Carlton is going to be bottom 3. And my feathers could not have been erect any quicker. Full feathers up. And I shook your hand in light speed and I was actually upset. Like, I was actually really upset. I'm like,
you were offended.
3. I was offended. I'm like, bottom 3 again, you asshole. Give me that bottle of scotch. And so I watched us get blown out by about 50 points in the first quarter against Richmond in round 1. But we came back and we made a game of it. Like, oh my God. And so I went into week 2 just going, well, I'm not totally desponded yet. And then, got absolutely smashed by the Suns in Melbourne. And I just knew that I was going to be paying up that that bottle of whiskey eventually. So
I was like, stop, he's already dead meme, because I during the season I stopped texting you because you were that despondent about them being in the bottom three. It felt like kicking a dog. I couldn't. I didn't feel guilty about collecting at the end of the season, but I certainly wasn't hanging shit on you after that, because you were really upset.
I was already done. What was the point? But yeah. Anyway, onto something more interesting. But yeah, Jack's got a question here around working on American sports in the Australian branch of ESPN. So
yeah, sure. Look, there's enough interest. I'm just purely basketball, so there is more than enough interest in that, especially with the NBL being as big as it is now. I think that's really grown. We've just struck a new broadcast deal with the NBL, so there's going to be all the games will be live, and so there's plenty of content there to be had. And then the Australian interest in the NBA has never been higher. I think everyone sort of knows that that our market has always been a good one for the NBA. I think it's the largest foreign market, English speaking foreign market outside of America. So the basketball growth in Australia has been really good, and I think the Olympics will help that as well.
Yeah, I think it's got to. I mean, I think with basketball in general, like, we're always banging on about how it's like one of the most, if not the most played grassroots sport. And like, a lot of the foundation has been there for a long time, but like, success just breeds more, like just more of everything. And our women have been successful for a very long time. You get both up and about in that same sort of extent at the same time, and I think the popularity is bound to skyrocket even further. I think more from a content perspective, maybe even because a lot of kids will play basketball, but they don't consume it all the time. They just go and play. Whereas we might be coming back to that sort of weird golden age of just consuming basketball content all the time. So it'd be cool. Nothing wrong with more basketball content, I reckon.
No, absolutely.
Old mate Corey wants to know the next NBL Aussie to get an NBA opportunity. He just wants
me to say Delhi, because he's such a Delhi fan. So, and Delhi does have an NBA out in his 3-year deal with Melbourne United,
which is challenging to just even think through at the moment. But
look, I think Delhi has been the most loyal servant to Australian basketball you'll ever see, and I think even by his own admission, he probably didn't have the Olympics he wanted to have. I think the effects of the concussion and his last NBA season, I think that has knocked his game around a little bit. And it'll be really interesting to see how he bounces back for United. I'm not sold that he'll be back in the NBA. But look, you can never rule him out either. I think somebody else that you might be interested to see that played for Australia at the Olympics, Joop Reith. He's going to be playing at Illawarra, so going to be playing under Gorgian. I think he showed some flashes in the Olympics. I think he looked really, really good for a big guy who we hadn't seen much of previously. If that growth exponentially, keeps going, I think he could be, a two-way contract type guy. And the other one is Mojave King for Cairns. I think, as an ex-star, I think there's potential there for him to be drafted, and he could be a draft and stash. He could be a two-way player. But I think if he keeps developing, there's a chance for him there too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it's good. I must admit, for myself personally, like, I've wandered off from the NBL over the last sort of season and a bit. I've sort of taken in the aftermath, I guess, content rather than watching live games, which for me, it always used to be a little bit the opposite. I'd always chuck a live game on, but I wouldn't necessarily chase up the latest info. But yeah, it's been interesting. I've definitely seen more growth and more interest. Everyone's always shitting on either Perth or Melbourne United, so that's always fun as well. Me, I like to shit on Perth pretty much constantly whenever I'm talking about Australian anything. But basketball mainly. But yeah, so but Nick Kay plays for Perth, does he not?
Well, he did. He played last season in Spain. After a really good World Cup in 2019, he got a Euro contract. and so he nicked off to Spain for the year, where he played really well,
Cool.
and translated that into a really, really good Olympics as well. So I don't think we'll see Nick Kay back here for a little while either. Jock Landale obviously just got a contract with the Spurs as well. So he's another one who bet on himself. He had NBA offers and didn't like what they were, and he wasn't interested in a two-way contract. He wanted a full guaranteed deal, and played himself, into one with an amazing NBL season, and then had an incredible Olympics. So, he's got a 2-year deal with San Antonio, which means the Spurs continue their tradition of having at least one Australian on their roster every year. That's mandatory now. Paddy's gone to Brooklyn, but they've replaced with Jock. So that's the way that goes.
I think I'm really going to struggle with Paddy being in Brooklyn, because there's just not. I'm yet to have a Brooklyn team where I just look and go, I really, really like them. Now, obviously, Paddy moves that needle quite considerably, but I respect the hell out of KD's game. I love watching him play basketball, but sometimes he could be a bit of a dill. And then you've got Kyrie, who's on literally another planet that's not round, but he's literally on another planet. Harden, I actually don't enjoy watching play basketball. It's like someone who's got the controller stuck or some sort of glitch in their video game. So I don't know. Watching Paddy, it's like obviously I would want him to do well and to succeed and win, but there's other dudes on the team that I kind of don't want to win. So I don't know how that's going to go.
This was like me watching LeBron win a title with the Lakers. Wrapped for LeBron. Did I really want LA to win another title? Probably not.
Probably not. But it was a bit, I guess, if we go down that line of thinking too, like when KG was playing for Boston and I was like cheering for Kobe and the Lakers, it's like it was weird to I liked KG, but then he was playing for the Celtics. So I was like, yeah, whatever, KG. You did this to yourself, mate. But then they won one, so it's pretty cool anyway. But yeah, there's going to be, as always, there's a shitload of movement in the season. Just constantly, there's a whole heap. But yeah, the Paddy in Brooklyn is going to be just a strange one for me. I'm sure I'll get used to it.
You're not the only Australian person who I've spoken to who feels that way. I'm all for it. I think it's a nice change for him. He took less money to probably go win a title. So, more power to him, I guess, for thinking that's more important for him now. And he'll be perfect for them. First guard off the bench. You can play the guard spot. There's not going to be as much attention, with all those megastars around him. He can just do whatever the hell he wants, and he'll be very, very good at it.
Yeah, and plus, like that sort of veteran leadership stuff too. And I know that gets bandied around a lot, but I mean, he's any player that can say that they've spent, 8, 9, I don't even know how many years with someone of the likes of Popovich, all the leadership stuff that he's done in terms of the Boomers and just in the community in general. It's like Brooklyn's getting a pretty good human. You'd like to think is probably, will go a long way towards keeping maybe all those other egos in check. Maybe that's part of it as well. Yep, for sure. Bit of perspective indeed.
Corey's got
Simmons. What's that?
Oh boy, Big Ben best fit. He's at Golden State. Wiggins, Wiseman shipped out. Look, Philadelphia aren't going to get what they want for Ben Simmons right now. That's the problem, in that every other team knows that they have the leverage, because Philly aren't going to ship him out for 65 cents on the dollar. So that might be as good as they can do. Whereas, can they try and fix it? I'm not so sure they can now. You look at all the reports about him not being contactable by the 76ers and things like that. But Morey's not going to take a garbage offer just to get him off his hands. It's a really tough one. Look, Golden State's probably the best offer they're going to get, unless Sacramento does something monumentally stupid, which we can't ever rule out. But
can't rule that out.
No. So the other problem that comes into that is Golden State's, they've already got a record tax bill coming. It's $180 million luxury tax bill. That's more than double what the previous record was. And now Ben Simmons is going to come in, and he's getting, he's still owed another $140 million over the next 4 years. So not that paying the tax seems to be a problem for the Dubs, but it's just one more very, very large salary for them to factor in.
Well, I agree with what you're saying about not taking the 65 cents on the dollar. Absolutely. It's the same reason why the chess pieces that are moved outside or behind the curtain, so to speak, in terms of agents announcing that players want to go or players holding out or it can always, you can't tell me it doesn't always work out better for all parties if everyone just shuts the fuck up and then they go and do a deal. But the only reason someone talks is to make something happen, basically. So unfortunately, in Jack sort of makes a comment here about Philly having a toxic team environment. I mean, Philly's known in general for having a pretty, I guess, challenging fan base environment. Yeah, you either love them or you hate them. Even from a franchise perspective, they've all sorts of different factors play into it. But I think if everyone just shuts up and they try and work a deal behind the curtain, then the player gets to go to a new start. The team gets back something that's of value to them, and everyone feels a bit happier. I think as soon as the likes of being uncontactable, no one knows what's going on, the rumor file starts circling, and then you're dead right. All the offers, if I'm another team, of course I'm going to send you 65 cents of the dollar because
exactly.
I feel like you really want to get rid of this guy, then you'll take it. But yeah, I think the main thing for Philly, you've got to decide too. You've got Embiid, you've just re-signed Green. You're still going for that veteran. We want to keep a team together that can win. So I think they kind of want to get someone really good back. They don't want to go for, I don't think Wiggins and Wiseman really cut it for Philly, but I get that might be the best they can get. I don't know.
Yeah, look, it's a really valid point about the toxic environment because you'd never hear these stories coming out of teams that have good culture. You would never hear this coming out of Miami, for example. You would never hear this coming out of Toronto. To a lesser extent, the Spurs. You probably don't hear that either. Like there are teams that just don't do this, and Philly they do. It just seems to be how they work, and I don't think it helps.
Yeah, the debate has always been like, does Benji need to learn how to shoot? Does he have to shoot? And
he knows how to shoot. I think it's a mental thing more than anything at this point.
Yeah, okay. Because I think the way he plays the game is almost like LeBron light in terms of the diversity of the different things he can do on the floor. So running the floor, handling, defending the post, rebounding, court vision. It's just when you then push out to that, can LeBron look at his feet, step back and shoot the three? That's something he can do that Ben can't. And so, I just think there's so much talent there that Philly can't possibly take a low ball offer. It's got to be something like, I don't know. I've got the fear that he's going to end up being traded to Portland, and then Portland are going to hate him because he's going to be the guy that replaced one of their two favorite sons.
The one good thing about going to Portland is their fan base is nowhere near as toxic. Like if you want to improve Ben Simmons' mental health, that's probably the best place for him. Maybe, OKC or Utah, their fan base, like Utah's fan base is crazy, but they love their players. So, I think, if you wanted him to go somewhere where it would help him feel loved, and I think he needs that, Portland's probably the best scenario for him. So it'll be really interesting to see where he ends up. He can shoot. He knows how to. Like we've seen in, even if you go back to, I talk about Summer League before, but even if he was doing that at Summer League, he knows how to shoot. He just doesn't. And he does everything else exceedingly well at an elite level. He's an elite defender. More than anything else, I wonder about how we would have gone at the Olympics with him as on the court with Thibault, and it would have been incredible the pressure they could have put on Team USA, and it would have stopped some of the big runs that the USA team went on. Yeah. Because never mind Gordon not calling a timeout or whatever, that doesn't really matter when you've got guys who can get you consecutive stops, and that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, because to me, it's like having watched the Olympics and international tournaments and all that for, 30 odd years or something. It's like, when America is going to take over, it's when they get turnovers and they get out, they start running, they start dunking the ball, they start yelling and screaming. Everyone's on the sidelines. They're up and about, dancing and carrying on, taking selfies like everyone's getting loose. But that's when they're at their best, like front running. If they're in a, to use the old footy vernacular, but if they're in an old, like a ding-dong battle where it's, like the full gloves are off and everyone's just hugging and punching the shit out of each other, I don't know. If they're down 10 for long enough, I think you can break them. But it's just once you turn the ball over and they get out and run, that momentum, it's like a snowball. And it's exactly what happened in that game. They did it just before the half, and then they did it just after the half. And it's like, you watch it, you're just like, oh, we're fucked.
I think it's really easy to shit on Ben, from his performance, in the playoffs and whatever else, where he just wouldn't shoot and things like that. But all that does, it glosses over what he can do exceedingly well. And he's he's 6'10", and he's one of the quickest players end to end in the league. People don't understand how fast he actually is when he gets going. It's all world stuff. And I would love to see him go to somewhere where he can be comfortable and he can be the player that we all would love him to be, and that maybe he shows that he cares. I think sometimes there can be that it looks like he doesn't care, that he wants to look a bit, too cool for school type thing. And Australia is desperate to really like him and want him to do well, not only in the NBA, but then come and play for your national team and have that pride that everyone else has had.
Yeah, there's been a few comments where it's just like, oh, the best thing for him could have been to get in that culture and all that sort of thing. I've sort of had my moments where I felt the same way, but then I kind of check myself and think, well, I think the only person that really knows what's best in most cases is Ben himself. And so I don't take it personally that he didn't play, but you can see even when George made comments today, like they all wanted him there. It would have been an amazing place to be. But at the same time, we're only 3 years away from another Olympics. And so, redemption is one of those amazing things. He could go from being I wouldn't say the villain, it's not quite that bad to everyone, but he could go from being the semi-villain, if you will, in terms of not being involved this year. And then in 3 years' time, the ramp up, new club, new outlook, all these things ramp your way up. And next thing you know, you're in France and you're holding up that gold medal. Everyone will shut the fuck up about your jump shot then, let me tell you.
Look, I mean, I don't hold him. I'm not personally mad at him. It's his decision, and as everyone has said, I think from day one, he knows what's best for him. Being mad at him doesn't solve the issue. I agree. I just think, as you said, being in that environment where it's just those guys against the world, and he would have been embraced, and he would have bought into it, and I think that would have been great. But that's the other part of it. He has to want to do that. He has to want to buy in, because that team won't tolerate a half buy-in, for example.
Yeah.
And that's why Matisse was so good, because from day one he came in with no ego. He parked his ego at the door, and that's no small thing for a very, very good NBA player to just say, no, I'm going to be part of this team, and I'm going to do what everyone else is doing, and I'm going to buy in, and I'm all in. And
he's got to be one of the most captivating people. Like our buddy Nick, who used to work for ESPN and doing that stuff as well on the TV and everything. And he interviewed heaps of players. You've done the same thing. And Nick used to always say like that Jamal Crawford was hands down the nicest guy, the nicest human that he'd ever interviewed. And it's always in my mind whenever I watch Jamal Crawford, because he's, people I trust have told me flat out that he's one of the nicest people ever. So whenever he does well, I'm happy. I'm happy because I know that he's a good egg. I would love to just, I don't know, watch and know more and ask questions of someone like Matisse Thybulle, because like you said, for someone to come in and just, like you say, park the ego at the door, learning how to throw a boomerang, immersing himself in the culture, doing the vlogs. I mean, it's so impressive, I think. Like, I'll watch him in the NBA now with a completely different, I guess, through a different lens, just because he's been part of the Boomers sort of setup and everything.
Yeah.
There was one comment earlier from Corey I thought was interesting, and it kind of shits on Carlton, so I'm happy to
I saw that.
happy to show it. But draft misses for Philly. So I didn't realize they had Christian Wood. I knew he played at Detroit. Was he drafted by Philly? Was he? I didn't know that.
Picked up by them, I think, and let go. But he developed late. To be fair,
yeah, big fella. But comparable to Carlton, I don't know. We used to be really shit at drafting Carlton, but we've gone a bit better lately.
The Markel Fultz one was the worst one. I just you've given up Jason Tatum for Markel Fultz. That ain't.
You don't mind it too much being a Celtics fan.
No, I'm talking out both sides of my mouth here. I'm absolutely ecstatic that they stuffed that up. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Look, it's an interesting one. Going back in drafts is always funny. It always shits on someone and always makes someone out to be the hero. But the weird thing with Fultz, I thought, for me, was that just when they were dicking around with his shooting and his shoulder, and had he not got it better yet, and he was like, I don't think he enjoyed his time in Philly at all, that kid. So I think once he moved on, I think he looked a lot freer, a lot more expressive. I know this might sound a little bit weird, but like, I think he was that much more comfortable in his own skin that like he literally, like, he started getting inked up and doing his hair different. And it may sound like I'm being stupid, but it's like, he looked like he was a lot more expressive and open to just do what he wanted. Whereas in Philly, he was always that kid that they were like cotton wooling over in the corner and couldn't get it right. Yeah, I think they messed with that jump shot in Philly, and it ruined his confidence. And by the time he left, it was a reclamation project basically for Orlando. I'm really glad that he found his feet there. That kid was such dynamite in college. He deserves a proper NBA career, and certainly better than what he got in Philly. Yeah, he was really good. He did his ACL, I think, in Orlando. He'll be due. I guess he's due back this year. I haven't looked it up, but based on how long ago it is, I'd say he's due back. So hopefully he does well. Peter B, great comment here. I did see this tweet from Tyson Beck saying that Matisse was the most searched player on his website over the last month. So people were itching for Tyson to release a card, perhaps with Matisse on it. It'd sell out pretty quickly. I jumped on Tyson's website last night, and one of those things I always talk about, I'm writing a little article about it at the moment, but just like the camaraderie in that of the hobby, and like how people are always on the lookout for different things. And like if I see Celtics, I'll tag you, and if you see Philadelphia Eagles, you'll tag me. And so I've sort of got all that in my mind. And then last night I saw it came up live on TweetDeck, and Tyson had said, special, whatever, only to 99, Patty Mills bronze Dozzy card or whatever. Yeah, I saw that. For all the camaraderie, old Hendo, I just went straight to the website, smashed it out, bought one for myself, and then when I was done, I was like, yes, I'm so wrapped I've got it. And then I'm like, oh, shit, I better let everyone know. And so then I went and shared it. And I think, I got selfish because there's only 99 of them. But normally it's like, hey guys, have you seen this shit? It's awesome. Weird. Hendo, I didn't get a text from you. No. I put it in the Discord. Mate. Sorry about that. Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, I see how it is now. All right. Yeah. Thanks for coming on, though. It's been really cheers. It's been a good chat. All right. So it's pretty cool. I mean, like from a segue point of view, I suppose, like obviously we're digging on the boomers and everything that's going on there, but like you're a bit of a collector yourself, yeah. And I must admit, my resurgence into the hobby about a year and a bit ago, like it was not a small part due to yourself as well and the different things that you're going after. But what's your collection of choice? Like tell people what you're aiming for when you're out there scouring eBay at midnight. Yeah, it's a bit of a funny one because I'm not into singles. I don't collect players, or I have a bit of OCD, and so I'm sets. So lockdown last year, I dragged all the early 90s sets, late 80s, early 90s sets out that I had, and there were a few that just weren't complete. And given we're in lockdown, I was like, well, here's something I can maybe focus on for a little while. It's not going to send me insane and staring at the same four walls every day. And so I started
working on those. And, I think from there it's been working my way backwards into the mid 80s. So my sort of I guess my collections now are aiming towards those, maybe not 86, 87 Fleer, because I think that's just, you can't complete it without a Jordan, and that's not going to happen. So, things
expensive.
But even 87, 88, or even the star sets from 83, 84 to 85, 86, there's some really neat subsets you can get in those relatively cheaply. And I really quite like those. The early 80s and even mid to late 70s sets, I'm kind of keen on as well. They look really funky. You and I have talked about, a glass table with a set of, say, 77, 78, Fleer basketball cards is underneath the glass. That would look really cool as a bar top.
Yeah.
So
even if
things
it's
like
team
that.
sets or something, like we've talked about this a bit, like, but like even team sets, I don't know, like random players, you just find a whole heap of just the one player, and just like, I've got this vision of like this epic coffee table one of these days, but I don't know. But a set, like if it was a bar and you literally had, I don't know, like if you thought about like Upper Deck 92, 93, where they got the high and low. So you've got what, give or take 600 odd cards.
Yeah.
If you just lined them from one around an L-shaped corner, one all the way through to 600, just imagine that bar would be the greatest bar of all time.
And you've probably mentioned my favorite set. And that's one I've actually finally completed this weekend, actually, because I was after one particular card. I was down to one card to get. And oddly enough, it wasn't even particularly rare. It was in an insert set, the foreign exchange set. And I needed Drazen Petrovic. And do you think I could find that card anywhere for the last year and a half?
We've been talking about this for ages. And I said to Steve before we came on live, I said, mate, what is that card again? Because it's just the Drazen one. Which one is it? Because I'll put it up on the screen, and any of these peeps that see it, they might see one. They'll send you a message on Twitter or something, and he's like, "Mate, I found it today." I'm like, "You're fucking kidding me! You found it today?" So yeah, but I'll bring it up on the screen just for those who want to take a look. But
it's such a nothing card, and yet I just wanted it, to complete a set. Complete the complete Upper Deck set from that year, like everything, all the inserts. I think there's 2 error cards I need to get, which are a little bit tricky, and I'm not necessarily worrying about them. But this was the one, and it's like
that started to do my head in though. Yeah, once you showed me where I could go in the listings to be able to see. He's at it all the time, mate. He's at it all the time. But yeah, one of those, I remember you pointed out to me that it was like mistake cards, misprint cards.
Yeah.
And I started looking at it, and I was all about my sets and stuff and trying to fill the void from the 90s and like just slot those ones in that I hadn't got. And once I started seeing all the mistake cards and reprints and doubles, I'm just like, fuck, man, I'm not going to be able to collect all that. So, the old hat off if you finally completed this set, because it won't be the last one, I'm sure. It's a bloody good effort.
Yeah, look, it's ultimately very satisfying, and I think as we talked about, in lockdown and things like that, it was really good stuff for your mental health. Just being able to find something that you've got something in common with your mates that you can talk about that has some real retro appeal to it. I think basketball in the 90s, in the early 90s, especially in Australia, just exploded. And my first part-time job was in a basketball card shop. Like that. Talking about the ultimate part-time job in 1992 was opening up boxes of cards to put on display.
Mate, I'm really not someone that you would say, oh yeah, Hendo, he steals stuff a lot. I'm not that guy at all. But I don't know. There'd be some temptation there to a couple of packets to find their way into my pocket, let me tell you. Back in the day.
The best part was when the store actually ended up closing a couple of years later, and I was talking to the guy who owned it, and he's like, I've got all these boxes in storage. Do you want any? I think I walked out of his other shop with about five boxes of collector's choice and things like that. Completely worthless, but just an absolute goldmine to just sit there and open packets for a day.
Yeah, well, we you and I did that not that long. Well, it's probably longer ago than I think though now. But
Start of the year.
yeah. We got the old 91, 92 Skybox and the 1990, 91, and that was fun. Like we both pretty
fun.
well. We got close to like a set each, but we sort of decided.
Yeah, I've got to fill out the two of those. That's on the list. And they're just commons, like I'm probably missing probably 30 or 40. So we nearly got almost 2 full sets out of 2 boxes. That's not too bad.
Yeah, it was pretty good, I thought. And it was it was just, I guess, ripping all the packs, and there's not really anything in those that are going to be like, life-changing money or anything like that. Like if that's what people are ripping boxes for, or packs rather, then you're not going to find anything there that's going to change your life. But for the nostalgia, finding like old school Jordan cards and things like Sean Kemp and guys that you hadn't thought about in a while was pretty cool.
I think, and that sort of stuff, like even just opening up the collection from, when I went into my stuff last year and finding in screw top cases like a Jordan Beam team, from 92, 93, like I think that might be the biggest card I own. And it's not really, it's not graded or anything like that. So I'm not doing this for any other reason than my own, it's a passion project. And I think if you're in it for any sort of profit or anything like that, I think that'd be hard for me to do something like that. You've got to really care about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. And I think you can't really afford to have too much of a emotional attachment to certain things. You just got to sort of buy low, sell high is the aim. But I don't know. Yeah. There's too much of my stuff is like even with Giuliano Alesi, I've been chasing him down, the young fella, F2 driver. And once I got latched onto it mentally, I'm like, yeah, I'm just buying everything of this kid that I see. That is purely in the hope that he gets big, and then I'll just sell them all. I won't have any trouble doing it at all. If a card there that I bought for, I don't know, $25 ends up being able to be sold for $300, I'm all for it, and it's out the door. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think it's fun to prospect in some ways, but I think it's a completely different channel to the nostalgia of collecting old cards. So it's interesting. I'm trying to read what Corey's going on about here.
Yes. My mate's old man played for Fitzroy and he found his footy card on eBay, so I bought it, waiting for him to offer the right amount before I sell it to him.
Well, that card is going to be worth $1 absolute maximum, I would say.
Yeah. Max.
You probably get 4 of them for $1, but we'll see. Yeah. All right. It's that time of the night where I go and check the run sheet, see what else we're going to talk about. I was going to ask you actually about like what your favorite card in your collection is. I don't know if I can assume it's the Beam Team one or if it's it's something else in particular.
Last year, I picked up this set from like 85, 86 star sets. And I picked up it was a Boston Celtics championship. It's a little mini team set. And, they're on, it's on mid-80s, stock. Like the cardboard's thick-ish. And they're all in, it was in an incredible nick. And it looks really good as a set on a page. There's only 9 cards in it. And, it tells the whole story of the championship of the finals against the Lakers. So it's 84-85. And from the 84 finals. And there's something about it that I just like. And it's quite easily my favorite set. Single card, yeah, for sure. That Beam Team's really, really neat. I just like it. But yeah, for sure. The older stuff it has an appeal, I think, that the newer stuff just doesn't for me.
Interesting. Yeah, I was going to bring something up because I just purchased something on eBay.
Hendo, is Wigan United any good?
Wigan United? What the fuck is that? Maggie, get on Insta and look up Wigan, and you will not find a Wigan United. That's it. That's the message. Go and look it up. And once you've looked that up, come back and refer to them properly. So I trying to bring up just a photo really of these guys because these are a 1986 Frito-Lay Philadelphia Eagles team set. And so I got them for like $10.
Oh
Yeah,
boy,
I can only imagine these cards must have just came in like packets of chips or something.
you'd imagine so.
But he had me. He had me with. I
They're
thought they had
clean,
another
hey?
photo.
They're
Yeah.
clean.
So, tips from the sidelines: if you return home and find a door or window open or tampered with, do not enter. Go to a neighbor's home and call the police immediately. This is the type of advice you just do not get on any cards anymore. Everyone's a little bit too upset if you try and tell them what to do. Whereas the E lady here has got some great advice. So yeah, but no, I love all the old shit on the old cards. It's yeah.
What's your oldest card that you've got, Hendo? From what year?
Yeah, I think it's the oldest one. I think I've got is like early 50s. I think early 50s. I did just funnily enough. Give me 2 seconds here. Look at. Oh no, it was 1969 was the one I just bought.
Nice.
But yeah, I think if I search up, maybe 57, 1957. I'm just looking at some of the other ones here, 1964. Yeah, I think it's like 1957. So it's. I'll just bring up this page. This is not the card that I have, but that style of card.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, delightful! Look at that.
So just the old school pictures. I've got probably like a team set ish of those, and they've got like the cartoons and all that sort of stuff on the back. They're pretty funny.
No, they're great.
But yeah, I'd say 57 is probably the oldest. There might be a couple that are a couple of years older, but yeah, I love all the old retro stuff, and I'm not for my collection and how I go about it. I'm actually not really worried about the condition of the card either. Like, I'm not looking to grade it. Quite frankly, some of the on that Philly Eagles Insta account that I made, like some of the cards there that have got the most engagement are the old fucked up looking ones that that's what makes them appealing. Is that people don't often see that. They see the ones that are they see the ones that are like all shimmed up or graded, or even if they're a grade 4 or 5 or something. Whereas mine, it's just like, yeah, I'm happy to buy them. I don't want them crumpled up like they've been, spitballed, but as long as you can see the pictures and you can sort of just, I don't know, feel the nostalgia in them, I think they're pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm a big fan.
So have you diversified outside of basketball too much, or have you sort of stuck to basketball with the cards? I know we spoke a little while back, and you were like, because I sent you a picture of something that I'd got. It was just outside of the norm, and you're just like, oh shit, I can't go down that path of like if I go outside of basketball, I'll lose my mind. So
I'll lose my mind, lose my house, all my belongings. Yeah, I haven't really. As a kid, I collected footy cards. I think there's a few Scanlan sets I've got somewhere hidden in a folder. Cricket cards. I think I was a mad cricket fan as a kid. Funnily enough, Steve Smith. But there was a Steve Smith in the mid '80s who played for Australia. So you can imagine who my favourite player was. My favourite player was Dean Jones. Those sort of things were collectibles for me back when I was a kid. But I haven't branched out just simply because, as I said, I quite like focusing on the basketball ones that I have decided I want to get, and I think that's enough for me at the moment.
That's fair.
I do see from time to time, like you could buy like a set of baseball cards from the late '60s or '70s, and they're not expensive because there's so many of them. They're so massively overprinted, and I think that'd be nice to have, or they're all nice to haves. They're not things that I desperately need. So it's so for me for the moment it's basketball, and I'll stay in that lane for the moment, I think.
Yeah, I suppose the other thing to consider too is like if you want to really focus on collecting those sets and finishing them off. I guess every time you step outside that, because I've gone and spread the wings and gone, oh, okay, a bit of F1, and then I've gone, oh, a bit of baseball, ice hockey, NFL, basketball, AFL. Like it's super fun. I even got some Marvel, like just X-Men cards and stuff. Just, I don't know. I like the thrill of the chase and also, just the artwork on a lot of stuff, even like Pokemon and stuff like that. It's more just the artwork on the cards, and I can sort of like, they're like having a miniature little framed picture or something. Like to me, it's that side of life. But yeah, as Cody says here, like we've got on the base stick train lately. There's ice stick cards, and then base stick ball, and whatever else we want to call it. But yeah, you're right about the value prop though, because ice hockey and baseball for one, like they're just not as expensive as NBA products. Even NFL products are, for the most part, I think they're less than basketball. Basketball is definitely the premium. But no, I've enjoyed it. The chasing down a team. It's just like, I don't know, if you sort of, especially if you're into breaks and stuff as well. It's like if there's no basketball or NFL breaks there that you're interested in, but there's a cheeky $15 baseball break and you can get the team you want. Yeah, I think it's fun. I've enjoyed it.
It's been fun watching you get into this. I think I've lived vicariously through your adventures into the hobby, and I've enjoyed watching you in breaks and things like that, because it's not something that's necessarily for me, but I can see the appeal of it.
Yeah, well, Blake on Cherry the other day mentioned that they're not far away from getting those Banner Locker signed jerseys and the Red Zone mini helmets, stuff like that back. I think they're going to do another run of them soon. So yeah, I'm going to have to start putting some money aside, because those slots were very hard to deny, because for one slot of the helmets it was like $9.95, and for one slot of the jerseys I think it was $14.95. So it's like, how you don't just chuck in a couple. Like, they were good. There's Jersey Joe, one of the guys that's constantly in the chat on Cherry when they go live. He must have won. No shit. Like, he went pretty hard at it, but he must have won, I'm going to guess, about 20 jerseys.
Yeah.
Like he was winning heaps of them, and so hence the name Jersey Joe. But yeah, I won 3, and I sold 2 of them and kept the Mets jersey that I've got. So yeah, it's good fun though. I dig it. All right. Well, I don't think I told you either. I went and played basketball before this next lockdown that we've done, and they've moved our divisions. We've always been in Division 2.
Yep.
And it's just the right level. Sometimes we make finals, sometimes we don't. We won a flag or 2, don't always win it. Like, it's the right spot for us. And somehow, some way through COVID, basically, what's happened, I think, is that there was 8 teams in Section 2 and 8 teams in Section 1. And what's happened is, I think Section 1, people just haven't re-registered.
Yeah.
And so what they've done is they've pulled 6 of our Section 2 teams up and put them in Section 1.
Whew.
Now, that's not good for old Hendo for a couple of reasons. One, we can never get more than, say, 5 or 6 players to a game. That's the first part. Secondly, when you go to Section 1, they play 4 quarters of 10 minutes instead of 2 18-minute halves.
Yeah.
And they stop the clock on timeouts. They got 3 refs. They got shot clocks. Like Danny Glover said, I am too old for this shit. So, but we ended up, we were basically even with this other team of young whippersnappers up until about 2 minutes to go. And then they, in no uncertain terms, put the foot on our throat, and that was it. We lost by 12, I think. But yeah, that game nearly killed me, but I realized I hadn't told you about that. It just, the shot clocks. I think I actually had 4 shot clock violations myself. Like, we're just holding the ball in my hand. Absolute pill. So bad. We spoke after the game, as we do in the car park with a few cheeky beers, and
classic. Been there with you. Been there and done that.
Yeah, and yeah, basically the consensus was, no, let's stick it out. Let's stick it out and play it and see if we can stay competitive. So yeah, I'll keep providing some updates, but yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. All right, so what else we got here? I've only got a couple more things left on my little list here, but you mentioned cricket cards before, actually, which was quite interesting because the guys shared some in the Discord not that long ago, and some of the cards that are out there, like I don't even know if they're really that expensive, but some of the autos and stuff of like classic cricket players that you can get they're pretty cool. Like the guys and the girls, like it was awesome.
Yeah.
Peter B shared a couple of, I don't know if I've got, because he had one that was like I bet you I can't find it now. But he had like an autographed Perry card and everything. It was
nice.
It was super cool. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it on the fly, but maybe I'll bring them up next time. But yeah, it was cool. I think cricket. I mean, there's going to be high level stuff as well for that, I'm sure, just like there is in anything. But yeah, it seems like much like baseball, it seems to be a kind of affordable sort of side of the hobby to get into. I think if people are keen.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, obviously the explosion of like, T20 and the Big Bash and things like that, I think there's different levels, entry levels for everyone. I think it makes it a bit like the cricket itself. There's different entry levels for families and things like that in terms of what you follow and what you do. And I'd be interested to see what there is out there in that regard. But I do like the idea of, getting into the, not just modern day cricket, but the women's side of it. Like if there's high level stuff for for the Perrys and that sort of thing, I think that's quite interesting.
Yeah, it was cool, and yeah, like I showed the missus and she was like glued to it straight away. So I think it opens up a whole different side too of if there's stuff out there in the hobby for everyone. I mean, one of the best parts of the hobby, I think, is that everyone can be and collect whatever they want to. Like no one, I've said this before, but like much like a little less so with like the barbecue scene, if you will, but people don't necessarily sit there and go, oh, you shouldn't do this or you should do that. It's like you can kind of do what you want.
Very much.
The barbecue scene sounds fucking stupid, by the way, but anyway, just picture all these people just barbecuing it like a disco or something. It sounds shit. But yeah, I think one of the cool things about the hobby is that you can everyone's got their own little place in there and no one tries to take anyone else's place. Like everyone's got their own there's room for everyone sort of thing. And I think we'll see more and more of that. Like the AFL Select cards, I think it was this year, they had AFLW cards mixed in with the AFL cards, and it gave that bit more exposure. So I think as time goes on a little bit further, you'll end up with AFLW cards being chase cards and everything, whereas now they're just included. So they're just including a few sort of dual cards where it's got the guys and the girls, a few that are just the girls on their own. But yeah, eventually you'll start getting. Tell me you wouldn't want like an Erin Phillips bloody jumper patch auto. I'd take that. That'd be great.
Oh, imagine it's a double up. It's a Crows and an Opals, jersey patch card.
What the fuck? How good would that be? Lauren Jackson, bloody patch auto. They'll be out there somewhere.
Yep, 100%. I'd be all in on that.
No, you just go and ask her to sign it for you.
Stop
just
that.
Sign it.
Stop that.
Friends in high places, mate.
Oh, please.
I was just popping up that comment before from Weaver, who was saying that saw a Ricky Ponting auto for $35. So, I mean, who knows where the hobby goes in terms of boom and in terms of, the high part of the market, the low part of the market. I mean, every time you think that something's gone, like, oh, it's boom now, it's too late to get in or whatever, things just boom again and they go up again, and there's no real way of telling it. Pricing for F1 cards, talking to Carpet Punter about it, actually, like just seeing that, pricing on a lot of F1 cards at the moment is just taking another jump straight back up again. So people are following it for that kind of reason. Yeah. What we got here?
Bumped into Lauren Jackson at 99 Summer Nights. How good.
That's a wicked sentence just from start to finish.
There's nothing I don't hate about that. And she would have been right into it. How good. Lauren's great. I can't speak highly enough of Lauren Jackson.
Australia's greatest ever basketballer.
Correct.
Can't get that one wrong. And Peter B, hoping for a toss back.
Yeah, look, it's a good one. You can double up. You could have a crows and opals. Be amazing.
You'd do that to 5, I reckon, or something. It'd have to be just the most.
Yeah.
It'd have to be super exclusive because, I mean, it depends on licensing as well, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're AFL licensed, you probably can't refer to or do anything with the opal side of it, vice versa. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe someone like Leaf, like those type of brands where they're not licensed, but they can still sort of get game used material. That would be the aim, I reckon. But that'd be a sick card. Pokemon also on the climb. Yeah, I find the Pokemon stuff to be really captivating because at least with, like, we're talking about the 90s basketball cards and that, it's like for the most part they weren't to a particular number, so no one really knew how many were out there. So like if you had a particular set, it's like, okay, how many Jordan base cards are there? Are there 2,000 of them, or are there 200,000? No one really knows. Whereas it's similar to on the Pokemon side now for this era of all these exclusivity and to 10 to 20 to 50 to 100, whatever it is, everything's sort of measured, and the measurements are in place. Whereas with Pokemon, it's just no one. I don't know. Someone might tell me different, but as far as I know, they're not numbered. They're not. There's no exclusivity to them other than they just get referred to as rare. So if they're climbing in value like that, it's quite bizarre. From a, obviously there's a lot of popularity, but yeah, not being numbered or not being that sort of chase for the exclusivity, it's strange that it's still booming like that. It's funny. That's funny. All right, wanted to show just quickly. The man Peter B has come through with the goods. Uno momento.
Numbered would be dangerous for my bank value. Yes, Blake. Same, mate.
What was that?
The comment there from Blake. Numbered would be dangerous for my bank value. Same.
Right, yeah.
Same, buddy. Same.
That's fair. These guys up. Technical wizardry here. That's why I'm paid the big bucks. Here we go.
Ooh, look at that.
Number 1, Alyssa Healy. Like they're a nice looking card too. Like it's not like you don't look at that and just go, oh, I'll just rip this out of a chip packet or something. Like they're good. I like it. And then that's the one I was talking about before.
Yeah, see, that's nice. I really like that.
They're good cards. I dig it. Thank you, Peter B, for sending that in. Good man. This is way easier to describe when it's right there in front of everyone's eyes instead of me talking my way through it. That's cool. All right. So a couple other things I wanted to cover off. Mayo always tells the people that this is a paid advertisement, which it's not. But who knows if we'll still be in lockdown or not in lockdown. I don't fucking know. What is it? It's about a month away. So who knows? I don't know. Maybe not. But I'm still going to keep plugging it because I still want to catch up with people there. So yeah, the Hobby Hangout coming up. The Melbourne version of that. Sunday, September 12. So I don't know. We're right on that sort of I think the organisers will be sitting right in a very nervous position, I think, because we're kind of just tipping on that threshold of whether or not, with more cases and all that shit happening, I think our lockdown's definitely going to extend, but for how long we don't know.
It'll definitely be longer than a week.
Point there from Carpet Punter 2. nice autos from the women because they got neat handwriting. So,
look, as someone who prides himself on his penmanship, I absolutely agree. New little blog post up on Baseline Drunks for people to go and check out. Just a quick one about a little Carlton footy card. Baseline Drunks account. Funnily enough, this little football movement, if you look at a rough number of people being into certain stuff, you sort of think, 10, 15, or whatever. Robert Pack, 10, should have had 100. That's all right. But then you get into AFL and the number 44 flies up. So people must really, I think it says something about, the AFL cards and how they've they're definitely popular at the moment. They've definitely picked up a lot of steam. So, which is very cool. I did want to flick through, probably some licensing issue, but I did want to flick through a couple of photos of the lads and bring it full circle. I love that photo so much.
It's good, isn't it?
All three flags.
Good. Yeah. Paddy wouldn't have it any other way. You see it in the dressing room and everything. Even when there was one photo there where they were just sitting and they had you could just see Paddy's locker, and so he had the necklace, he had the flags, he had all the stuff there, and it's like, I think again it sort of plays into that culture and everyone understanding everyone and where they've come from and where they're going. So not lost on me as well was Jingles' Chuck Taylor's. That was a memorable look. A memorable look indeed. I like it. And yeah, just rip some of these from the old interwebs. So if I get shut down for some sort of copyright, don't tell anyone. That's cool too. Just everyone's it's all happening. And that, I don't know. Yeah. I reckon you could frame that shit and put it in the MCG Museum of Sport or wherever the fuck they call it. But yeah, just bronze that shit up.
Hang that in any art gallery in the world. That is art.
Yeah, that is absolute art, indeed. It's love it. Cool. All right, man. Well, look, we'll probably just wrap it up. I think people are starting to talk about the bloody closing ceremony and shit as well. So, definitely people are going to be into that. But yeah, very much appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate you taking the time. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Mainly hanging out on Twitter and talking absolute rubbish, posting Simpsons memes and whatnot. It's Steve Smith FFX, and go and harass me there about not being the cricketer by all means. No, this has been really fun, mate. I've really enjoyed this. I've been enjoying your episodes, and look at that.
Thanks,
and
look at the technology, man. I'm even promoting you up the top corner. That's some pro shit right there.
Hit the like button, subscribe, rate, review, all that.
Yeah, I got to figure out that bit, but yeah. But no, thanks heaps, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. What a classic. Yeah. Either do it or don't. Like, quite frankly, it doesn't matter if you hit the like button or not. We're still going to come on and talk shit. So just handle that.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks very much. Finish it up
really
now,
enjoyed
and we'll talk to you all soon. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.